in the beginning of the Cohen hearing, we were doing the live stream. And there was this woman who was standing. It was like, you can't really tell because you're watching it on TV, but she wasn't on the dais yet, which is where this clip starts. It was before she was actually standing behind Congressman Meadows, but she was kind of somewhere in between the table where Cohen was testifying and where the Congress people were. And it was like, at first you're like, is that a journalist? And it's like, well, maybe, but that, journalists wouldn't be able to just sort of like hover around there. And then it was like, maybe it's one of his counsel, but it looked like his counsels were both sitting behind him. Who is this person? And then it's like, I don't, who knows? Maybe it's presumably they have like a stenographer for the transcript or something. But it definitely distracted me because I didn't understand why this person was sort of hovering in what appeared to be like, a place you don't usually see people standing around at congressional hearings. Cut forward to, she's standing behind Congressman Mark Meadows, who, it doesn't tell me what state he's from, but I believe is from, I think he's from North Carolina. Yes, he's from North Carolina. And Mark Meadows was one, this guy.
He's from one of those highly gerrymandered to the point where I think the Supreme Court was even like, these are clearly racist gerrymanders.
Yes, This is a racially gerrymandered district, and he had the continence and manner of like a drunk asshole on first class who's been like cut off from scotch because he's like starting to yell. And I mean, just all of the Republicans were just amazing failures yesterday at this hearing and made Michael Cohen look enormously sympathetic just on a pure human level because they're all being such sort of either totally bizarre or weirdly ineffective or mostly just massive assholes. And Mark Meadows was the leader of that. And then you realized with this woman standing behind him, oh my God, that's what she's there for. And we use phrases like props in ways that make sense, but maybe aren't literal translations. This would be if you were teaching somebody the language and they put a sentence together and they said, this woman, Lynne Patton, was used as a prop in a congressional hearing. That would be a literal sentence. Let's check this out.
Do you know Lynne Patton?
Yes, I do.
I asked Lynne to come today in her personal capacity to actually shed some light. How long have you known Ms. Patton?
I'm responsible for Lynne Patton joining the Trump Organization and the job that she currently holds.
Well, I'm glad you acknowledge that because you made some very demeaning comments about the president that Ms. Patton doesn't agree with. In fact, it has to do with your claim of racism. She says that as a daughter of a man born in Birmingham, Alabama, that there is no way that she would work for an individual who was racist. How do you reconcile the two of those, Mr.
As neither should I, as the son of a Holocaust survivor.
Boom.
But, Mr. Cohen, I guess what I'm saying...
I do have to say, I mean, you could see there, this is the kind of reason why, I mean, it was responses like that, look, I'm giving him a sympathetic read. That is a clinic response to that question. Go ahead.
But, Mr. Cohen, I guess what I'm saying is I've talked to the president over 300 times. I've not heard one time a racist comment out of his mouth in private. So how do you reconcile it? Do you have proof of those conversations? Do you have proof? Yes or no?
I do.
Oh, where's the proof?
Ask Ms. Patton how many people who are black are executives at the Trump Organization, and the answer is zero.
Well, there you go. But I mean, obviously, let's not leave to the judgment a guy who would use a woman as a literal prop to gauge racist comments. Like, I could imagine him saying, like, when the president made that comment about swimming and an extra bone in your ankle, that was science, Mr. Cohen. So that was embarrassing and bizarre. And, let's let's actually maybe we'll get to Brenda Lawrence later because she was very good. But there is a through line here because Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib pointed out, and this person, Congresswoman Tlaib, already freaks these guys out, and they're constantly using the fear and bigotry around her and Ilhan Omar, both the misogyny and also the fear of them as Muslims, to try to delegitimize them and even draw equivalencies between them and, of course, the essentially the crypto Nazi in their own house ranks. This is Rashida Tlaib, and she's going to point out that Donald Trump is maybe not the only person displaying racist behavior around here.
Just to make a note, Mr. Chairman, just because someone has a person of color, a black person working for them, does not mean they aren't racist. And it is insensitive that some would even say it's the fact that someone would actually use a prop, a black woman, in this chamber, in this committee, is alone racist in itself. Donald Trump is setting a precedent.
Mr. Chairman, I ask that her words be taken down.
President, I reclaim my time.
Mr. Chairman,
Trump is setting a precedent.
Mr.
That
Chairman,
the highest office can be attained.
Mr. Chairman, the rules are clear.
Activity. Cover up and hold on to business assets to break campaign finance laws and constitutional clauses. What we have here, Mr. Chairman, is criminal conduct and the pursuit of the highest public office by Mr. Cohen and Individual 1. I hope that the gravity of this situation hits everyone in this body and in Congress and across this country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield the rest of my time.
Mr. Chairman, I ask that her words, when she's referring to an individual member of this body, be taken down and stricken from the record. I'm sure she didn't intend to do this, but if anyone knows my record as it relates, it should be you, Mr. Chairman.
Pause it. What is Mark Meadows' record? He serves in a racially gerrymandered district. Has he brought forward, has he co-sponsored the Democrats' bill? He's going to go on and talk about his great friendship with Elijah Cummings, which Elijah Cummings confirms. Good for them. And I will just say as a side note, I think Elijah Cummings, I have very high respect for. I think his leadership of the committee was hugely admirable, and a lot of people, all of us, could actually learn from his discipline of the committee, his surveying, his leadership, and his empathy. Mark Meadows has co-sponsored the Democrats' bill on voting rights. Mark Meadows has condemned leaders of his own party for violating the Civil Rights Act and suppressing African American votes. Has Mark Meadows done any of this stuff? What's his record? Oh, I get it. I think I have an idea. You know what? I'm not even going to say it. Let's check out what his record might have been. Is him? Well, this is what I'm saying. This is him talking about his quote unquote record.
Mr. Meadows. Yes. Mr. Meadows.
Mr. Chairman, there's nothing more personal to me than my relationship. My nieces and nephews are people of color. Not many people know that. You know that,
I'm going to tell everybody.
Mr. Chairman. And to indicate that I asked someone who is a personal friend of the Trump family, who has worked for him, who knows this particular individual, that she's coming in to be a prop, it's racist to suggest that I asked her to come in here for that reason. Mr. President, the president's own person. She's a family member. She loves this family. She came in because she felt like the president of the United States was getting falsely accused. And Mr. Chairman, you and I have a personal relationship that's not based on color. And to even go down this direction is wrong, Mr.
Okay, so I'm getting informed over IM from JB that and we were remiss in not finding this, but apparently there's a 2012 clip of him. Okay, so here's an example.
Out, JB.
JB, we got you. So I just want to say this. While his friendship with Elijah Cummings might not be based on color, and I got to tell you, I don't even know what the fuck that even means, one way or another, honestly. Like, I definitely would say that my relationships, friendships and otherwise, are not based on color. But I would say that this comment that Mark Meadows made in 2012 about Barack Obama was at least partially, maybe, okay, it was based on geography, sure.
Well, it's good to be here with you today. I thank you so much for allowing me just a few minutes to talk with you and share a few things. But, you know, it's interesting when the more we find out, the more we realize how wrong the direction we're going. And so what we're going to do is take back our country. 2012 is the time that we're going to send Mr. Obama home to Kenya or wherever it is. We're going to do it.
That was Mark Meadows. And then what was amazing, and actually, yeah, I mean, after that, you basically have a situation, and part of it is just like niceties of the House, and there is procedure. And I think actually Elijah Cummings is somebody who genuinely cares about some of this stuff, and he's not talking about civility in the bullshit, nonsense kind of green room way that we dismiss and rightfully mock all the time. But he is saying, like, look, the reality is that on some level, politics is not debate. It's a real actual conflict, but it's also not like street fighting. There's a middle point here. And there is some level that even though you're going to fight and you're going to win and you're going to battle and you don't have to be friends, you don't have to bipartisan, all this bullshit. But if you're going to sit together and work, you do actually need to recognize some kind of shared humanity. And I think that Elijah Cummings was a proponent of that. And I found it incredibly admirable, and just his sort of quality he brought to things clearly at a higher level. And then there's just the niceties of like, oh, well, you know, even though, of course, he is absolutely being a racist, you know, you can't say that because it's uncivil and all that bullshit. So then you had this really like bizarre couple of minutes where this brat is having a conniption because his racist stunt was accurately called out by Congresswoman Tlaib. And he's doing the classic, you know, the classic white guy, like the white move. Of
You don't
like,
know what's in my heart.
Or that the greatest sin is the accusation of race, right? Like, I'm a race, personal and black friends and family members and all of this shit. And then, even though, and Tlaib did not, I mean, she handled it very adroitly. She did not back down from the merits, but made clear, like, look, I'm not saying you're blah, blah, blah. And Elijah Cummings affirmed their friendship, which, okay. But you had basically, you basically had a couple of minutes there where two people of color had to just like be like, all right, buddy.
We're saying you did a racist act.
You literally had to like, it was like a fucking, Mark Meadows was literally, and I'm aware, I'm gonna use this analogy. He was like a out of control animal that they literally needed to like soothe and pacify. And then he kind of got into like one of the sort of like sulkily kind of like, well, thank you.
Since Cummings isn't here to gavel us down, I'll say I think Mark Meadows actually is a racist.
I will definitely. I will also take advantage of the non-gavel as well.
Another video has surfaced. This looks like he's at a Blue Ridge Tea Party.
Wow.
Yes. You know, I see it as, if we do our job from a grassroots standpoint, we won't have to worry about it. You know what? We'll send him back home to Kenya or wherever it is. You know, we'll send him back home, and so in doing that.
Oh wow! You know, I wonder what his nieces and nephews think of those comments.
Yeah, let's put them on. No, let's definitely not put them on.
Yeah,
record.
Let's not.
Feel bad for them.
Let's feel bad for them. I mean, look, maybe we'll get to Paul Lepage, you know, who's another, you know, a pioneer of Republicans mainstreaming white supremacy, and in the modern iteration. And I mean, he always would talk about how he adopted a son from Jamaica. And other than like, should we be calling the Department of Human Services on him and checking out how this kid and maybe all the other kids because that guy's, you know, obviously in addition to being a immense racist is just profoundly ill. I mean, you know, they're always going to go to that. And the only thought it could sort of bring up in one's mind is like, Jesus, what the fuck's going on in that family?
Lepage, by no other news, is back in the news cycle saying that.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
No, it's just that the Electoral College is the only way we're going to maintain white majority in this country.
Right. 70% Oh, okay. And just adding to really filling out the circle here, Dave Rubin, and I actually think Dave Rubin obviously is mostly just a total empty void who has no, to say he's an empty suit would be to is actually not true, because suits.
It's an insult to Men's Warehouse.
It is an insult to Men's Warehouse. You're gonna love the way you look. We guarantee it. But I do think his animus towards Muslims is actually, insofar as there's any ability for him to kind of form anything cognitively, is probably pretty sincere. And he writes, and he's quoting a tweet, but from some idiot named Jim Hansen,
who was agreeing with
who's saying Rashida Tlaib is a disgrace.
Is the real racist.
Okay, yeah, this is the tweet. Rashida Tlaib is a disgrace. She called Mark Meadows a racist for having a personal friend of the Trump family, blah, 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 blah. She's the real racist, yada, yada, yada. I'm paraphrasing now. Dave Rubin, bingo, Tlaib is a disgrace and the racist here. Also, the day she was sworn in, she said she was going to, quote unquote, impeach the motherfucker. So how is she even on this panel? Well, she was appointed to by leadership.
In order to impeach
That's how it
somebody,
looks.
you need to be a congressperson, actually. So that's one of the main qualifications.
Yeah, that was right. She has her outcome regardless of facts. Any Democrats want to chime in or not? Well, I don't know if Sam is officially a Democrat. I'm sure he's registered as a Democrat, so he can vote in primaries in New York State.
He does hits for him.
He does hits for them on MSNBC and otherwise. And, so I think Sam Seder qualifies as a Democrat. And here you go. He quote tweeted Dave. And by the way, unlike me, because don't forget that a lot of this goes back to my free speech being silenced by Sam, because I called Dave a boo-boo word, although I insist stupid is just a descriptive word when it comes to Dave. Sam Seder tweeted, I'd be happy to discuss it with you, Dave. Sounds very, look
forward to that.
I don't know. It sounds like a good starting point of an open and free exchange of ideas. And let's just top it. I do want to just play Brenda Lawrence, because I thought, Ayanna Pressley also, of course, there was a lot of articulation of the affirmation of the fact that this guy, the significance of a president with these beliefs, saying this stuff. This is Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence from Michigan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to put on the record, as being a Black American, and having endured the public comments of racism from the sitting president, as being a Black person, I can only imagine what's being said in private. And to prop up one member of our entire race of Black people and say that nullifies that is totally insulting. And in this environment of expecting a president to be inclusive and to look at his administration speaks volume.
Lynne Patton was my friend. We make her use the back door, but I guess I shouldn't have said that. All right, let's take a call. You're calling from...